Hello and welcome to Millennium Sports World. Today we will present local and international sports stories including MMA, golf, tennis, auto race, boxing, NFL, NHL, NBA and some more sports news. So let's find out what's waiting in today's sports world. From Super Bowl opening night to the night before the big game, the party was on all week long. The frenzy was back in full force this year after COVID-19 restrictions limited the wild, zany atmosphere that surrounds the most anticipated and most hyped week on the sports calendar. More than 6,000 media members from 24 countries were accredited to provide coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles and related events on site in Arizona, per the NFL. Officials estimated 100,000 visitors were passing through the area surrounding the downtown convention center, where the NFL set up its Super Bowl experience, an interactive theme park. That doesn't count the hundreds of thousands of people who came out for the WM Phoenix Open in Scottsdale, 20 miles from downtown Phoenix. About 600,000 attended the tournament this week, including some 200,000 fans on Saturday, with many wearing Chiefs and Eagles gear. It's expected to wrap up in time for people to watch or go to the big game. The Super Bowl Media Center was buzzing with a record 128 outlets, filling Radio Row, which now includes podcast and television networks. Restaurants were packed, parties were crowded, hotels were booked, traffic blocked streets, and people were everywhere just as in the pre-pandemic days. USA luges Emily Sweeney picked up her team-based fifth medal of the World Cup season on Sunday, a bronze in a women's singles race. Julia Taubitz of Germany won the race in 1 minute 51.683 seconds. Anna Bereter of Germany was second in 1 minute 51.891 seconds, and Sweeney was third in 1 minute 52.038 seconds. It was Sweeney's fourth singles medal of the season, the first three of them being silvers and one of them coming in a sprint race. She also was part of a team relay bronze medal run earlier this season for the Americans. "It's nice to be back on the podium," said Sweeney, who has dealt with recurring neck issues this season. "That makes me very happy." It was Taubitz's 20th career World Cup win. Germany again was the dominant team on the weekend, with Max Langenhan winning in men's singles, Tobias Windel and Tobias Arlt winning in men's doubles, and Jessica Degenhardt and Shan Rosenthal prevailing in women's doubles. Langenhan, Tobias, the Windel-Arlt, Slade and the Latvian women's doubles team of Anta Upit and Saniza Ozolina also won World Cup sprint race golds on Sunday. The decision to have players from both teams line up arm in arm at center ice for the playing of the Ukrainian and United States national anthems was pre-planned in what stood as a symbol of unity and solidarity. What no one anticipated was the spontaneous celebration that erupted among the 11 and 12-year-olds following the Ukrainian Select 3-1 victory at the International Pee Wee Hockey Tournament on Saturday. Rather than shuffle off the ice, members of the Boston Junior Bruins happily took part in a victory lap along with the Selects, which ended with the teams gathering again at center ice, where they posed for a picture with one player from each side holding up the ends of a large Ukrainian flag. The bonds that were made and the electric atmosphere of playing in front of some 18,000 fans in Quebec City's Videotron Center weren't lost on Boston goalie James Boccuzzi. The moments went far beyond fulfilling the message of peace that tournament organizers hoped to send across the world nearly a year after Russia's invasion of Ukraine began, and it exceeded the vision Pisarenko and Sean Berube had in August, when they began the lengthy process of cobbling together a team of Ukrainian refugees. WNBA star Brittany Griner attended the WM Phoenix Open Golf Tournament Saturday in her second public appearance since her release from a Russian prison. Griner was part of a crowd of about 200,000 fans at the tournament, watching the action from the stadium's 16th hole. Last month, in her first appearance, the Griner was at the Martin Luther King Jr. March in downtown Phoenix. Griner is skipping the USA basketball training camp in Minnesota so she can be with her wife and recover from her time in jail in Russia. She was traded in a dramatic prisoner swap in December. Griner has said she will play for the Phoenix Mercury again this season, although she is still an unsigned free agent. She hasn't talked about her international future and potentially playing in the Olympics next year in Paris. Insisting sports had to respect the human rights of all athletes, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach on Sunday denied that the organization was on the wrong side of history by helping Russians and Belarusians qualify for the 2024 Paris Summer Games. Bach and the IOC have faced a widespread backlash from Ukraine and its allies, including comments directed at him by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, since setting out a path last month for some athletes from Russia and Belarus to return to international competition despite the war waged by their countries. Asked Sunday at the Alpine Skiing World Championships if the IOC could be on the wrong side of history, Bach dismissed the suggestion. No history will show who is doing more for peace. The ones who try to keep lines open to communicate are the ones who want to isolate or divide, the IOC leader said. Bach spoke with international media ahead of the men's downhill, the murky race in a sport from which Russians and Belarusians were excluded since the war started last February. Ivan Kovbeznyuk was the only Ukrainian skier taking part. Now, latest baseball stories. Reliever Jason Adam beat Tampa Bay in the first of 4 arbitration cases involving the race and will get $1.775 million instead of the team's offer of $1.55 million. Adam was 2-3 with a career-low 1.56 ERA and a career-best 8 saves in 67 relief appearances last season, striking out 75 and walking 17 in 63 and 1/3 innings. The right-hander earned $1.15 million. Arbitrators Jasbir Permer, Margaret Bruggen, and Stephen Raymond made the decision on Saturday, a day after hearing arguments. Tampa Bay also is waiting decisions in the cases of relievers Ryan Thompson and Colin Posh and outfielder Harold Ramirez. Those decisions are being held for cases involving other players to be argued or settled next week. Players and teams have split 6 decisions. All-Star pitcher Max Fried lost to Atlanta. Outfielder Kyle Tucker was beat by Houston and reliever Diego Castillo was defeated by Seattle. Pitcher Jesus Luzardo and AL batting champion Luis Ariz both beat Miami. A decision also is pending for Los Angeles Angels outfielder Hunter Renfroe. 10 players remain scheduled for hearings, which run through February 17. Pitcher Christian Javier and the Houston Astros agreed Friday to a $64 million 5-year contract that avoided a salary arbitration hearing. Javier gets a $2 million signing bonus payable within 30 days of the deal's approval by the commissioner's office, and salaries of $3 million this season, $7 million in 2024, $10 million in 2025 and $21 million in each of the following 2 years. His salaries in the final 2 years can increase based on Cy Young Award voting by up to $6 million in 2026 and $8 million in 2027. He would get a $2 million boost for each first place finish, $1 million for second and $500,000 for third through fifth. Javier has the right to block trades to 10 teams without his approval in 2026 and 2027. Now, latest NHL stories. There aren't many occasions anymore when one can say Sidney Crosby did something in a game for the first time. Saturday night, though, he accomplished a first he hoped to avoid. The Pittsburgh Penguins superstar received a game misconduct for the first time in his 18-year NHL career midway through the third period of a 6-0 loss to the Los Angeles Kings. The two-time league MVP was battling for position with Kings defenseman Mikey Anderson in front of the net and was knocked to the ice. Anderson ended up being called for cross-checking. Anderson and Crosby exchanged words as Anderson skated to the penalty box and Crosby ended up shoving Anderson. Both players ended up getting 10-minute misconduct penalties, but Crosby's got elevated to a game misconduct, which carries an automatic ejection after continuing to chirp at referee Garrett Rank. Pittsburgh coach Mike Sullivan said he didn't receive a reason on why Crosby received a game misconduct. Now it's time for latest NBA stories. Tyler Hero scored 23 points, Jimmy Butler added 22 points and 7 rebounds, and the Miami Heat rallied to beat the Orlando Magic 107-103 in overtime on Saturday night. Gabe Vincent, who finished with 20 points, opened OT with a three-pointer. Hero scored twice from the lane, and the Magic, who had led by 9 with 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, never caught up. Markelle Fultz led the Magic with 17 points. Paolo Banchero had 16 points and 13 rebounds and missed a driving layup in the final seconds of the fourth quarter that was altered by Miami center Bam Adebayo. Once the game went into overtime, the advantage swung to Miami. Adebayo, who played the entire fourth quarter and overtime, finished with 13 points, 17 rebounds and 6 assists. He was the centerpiece of the defensive effort that held the Magic to 24 points in the final 17 minutes. Now some golf stories. Former number 1 Jia Shin of South Korea mastered windy conditions with a solid 1 under 71 Sunday to win the Women's Vic Open by 5 shots. Shin began her final round 2 shots behind Australian hope Casey Porter but found herself 5 shots in front after 9 holes as Porter struggled in the breezy conditions. The 11-time LPGA Tour winner finished with rounds of 67, 71, 66 and 71 for a 4 under total of 275. While Shin had 3 birdies and a single bogey on the first 9, the 21-year-old Porter, who led after the first 3 rounds, had 5 bogeys in an outward 41, eventually signing for a 7 over 79, which saw her drop back into a tie for 4th with American Emma Talley 6 shots off the lead. Shin's main challenge in the last round came from Australia's Grace Kim, who also shot a 1 under 71 to move up from 5th into a second-place tie with Parvarisa Yukton of Thailand. The women's and men's Vic Opens are being played concurrently on a 36-hole layout at 13th Beach Golf Links at Barron Heads, near Geelong in Australia's Victoria State. New Zealander Michael Henry finished with an even par 72 to win the men's title by 4 shots. Scottie Scheffler held onto the lead Saturday at the WM Phoenix Open in a bid to successfully defend his title and regain the number 1 spot in the world. The second-ranked Scheffler shot a 3 under 68 in front of some 200,000 fans, including WNBA star Brittany Griner, at TPC Scottsdale to get to 13 under, 2 strokes ahead of third-ranked Jon Rahm and Nick Taylor. Something I talked about at the beginning of the week was I felt like I have been on the outside looking in on Sundays, Scheffler said. To be in the final group with a 2-shot lead, I believe is definitely a position I want to be in. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Rahm also had a 68, holding a curling 40-footer for birdie on the stadium's 16th for his 3rd birdie in 4 holes. Now some latest stories from tennis. Wu Yibing became the first Chinese player to reach an ATP Tour final, rallying for a three-set victory over top-seeded American Taylor Fritz in the Dallas Open on Saturday night. Wu will play John Isner, who also won after dropping the first set and advanced to the final of his hometown event with a victory over fellow American J.J. Wolf. Wu won 6-7, 7-5, 6-4 and survived all 9 breakpoints he faced, including 5 when down a set and trailing 2-1 in the second. Fritz had 20 aces to Wu's 6, but Wu capitalized on 2 of his 4 break chances. I think serving 9 break points is more tough than winning a match against him, Wu said. I just stayed patient because I know I am very solid with the baseline, so there is no rush. When I have a break point, I go for some big shots. Wu broke Fritz to take a 6-5 lead in the second set before breaking the 8th-ranked Fritz, highest among Americans, for a 3-2 lead in the deciding set. Yannick Sinner of Italy won his 7th singles title and first of the season by beating American Maxime Cressy 7-6, 6-3 in the Open Sud de France final on Sunday. The second-seeded Italian did not lose a set on his way to winning the tournament. Sinner saved 3 break points in the 4th game before racing to a 4-0 lead in the tiebreaker. He took the first set when Cressy netted a backhand. Number 51 ranked Cressy was bothered by an injury to a finger on his right hand and needed treatment at 3-2 in both sets. Sinner won the last 3 games as Cressy dropped serve at 4-3 by sending a forehand volley wide before netting another volley on match point. Cressy had won their only previous meeting, a Challenger Tour match in Lexington in 2019. A former tennis player from Morocco was banned for life Thursday after being found guilty of 135 match-fixing offenses. It is the highest number of match-fixing offenses by one person detected in the sport, the International Tennis Integrity Agency said. Younes Rashidi, who had a highest doubles ranking of number 473, has been banned from ever playing in, coaching at, or attending any tennis event sanctioned by governing bodies, the ATP and WTA. He was also fined 34,000. Independent anti-corruption hearing officer Janie Sublier ruled that all charges against the 36-year-old Rashidi were proven. The International Tennis Integrity Agency said Rashidi was involved in match fixing with 2 Algerian players who were recently banned following investigations in Belgium. Now mixed martial arts news. Islam Makhachev defied a rowdy crowd and a sustained challenge from Alexander Volkanovski on Sunday to cement his supremacy in the UFC lightweight division in a grueling fight in Perth, Western Australia. In the main event of UFC 284, Makhachev defended his 155-pound belt with an unanimous decision to prevail in a 5-round slugfest. The 31-year-old also claimed the title of Best Pound-for-Pound Fighter from featherweight champion Australian Volkanovski, who saw his 22-win streak ended. People will call me not just champ but best fighter in the world. I'm very happy, said the Russian, who was cheered throughout the fight by a sold-out 13,000 crowd at RAC Arena. Makhachev had to fend off a furious challenge from the 34-year-old Volkanovski, but his grappling and wrestling prowess proved enough. Volkanovski, a former concreter and rugby league player, impressed as he moved up a division. He landed several blows and dominated for stretches of the contest, but fell in his second defeat from 27 fights. Now some latest soccer news. Brentford striker Ivan Toney was the victim of racist abuse after a 1-1 draw at Arsenal, his club said Sunday. Toney, who is black, was targeted on social media following his goal in the Premier League game at Etihad Stadium on Saturday. Immediately after Brentford's game against Arsenal, Ivan Toney received a barrage of abusive, racist, direct messages via his Instagram account, Brentford said. We are disgusted and saddened that Ivan has had to deal with this yet again. Arsenal immediately offered its support to Tony and said it was working with Brentford to identify those involved. At Arsenal, we condemn all forms of discrimination and take a zero-tolerance approach. We will apply the strongest possible action to anyone we can identify sending hateful messages. Tony evened the score in the 74th minute after Leandro Trossard had struck in the 66th. The result dented Arsenal's title bid, coming after the league leaders lost to Everton last week. Marcus Rashford scored his 21st goal of the season in Manchester United's 2-0 win against Leeds in the Premier League on Sunday. Substitute Alessandro Garnacho also struck as Erik ten Hag's team moved to within 5 points of leader Arsenal. United had its title hopes hit by Leeds in a 2-2 draw at Old Trafford on Wednesday, but made up for that by picking up 3 points at Elland Road. Arsenal's 1-1 draw with Brentford on Saturday meant United had the chance to cut the Londoners' lead and move into title contention. Rashford has 13 goals in his last 16 games and is leading his team's charge toward the top of the table. He broke the deadlock after 80 minutes with a clinical header from 6 meters, and Garnacho made certain of the win 5 minutes later. But Weghorst thought he had added a third, but that goal was ruled out for offside. The win will feed the growing belief United can mount an unlikely title challenge in a bid to be crowned English champions for the first time since 2013. Now, latest auto race story. Ott Tanak secured a pivotal win at Rally Sweden on Sunday afternoon, ending MS Sport Ford's year-long victory drought on only his second FIA World Rally Championship event since returning to the team. The Estonian Puma Rally 1 driver clinched his second Sweden success by 18.7 seconds ahead of Hyundai's Craig Breen. It moves him into the lead of the WRC drivers' standings by 3 points after round 2 of 13. Tanak drove for MS Sport between 2011 and 17 before spending several seasons with rivals Toyota, with whom he won the 2019 WRC title, and Hyundai. He re-signed for the British-based squad just weeks before this season got underway, and Sunday's result marks the team's first victory since last year's Monte Carlo Rally 385 days ago. It obviously means a lot to me to come into a new car and deliver to these guys, said 35-year-old Tanak. It's a big effort for them to fight against such big manufacturers. I'm sure they're getting quite a bit of stress from me, but as long as it's delivering, then we are all winning. It's great to be part of this team. Breen, who is running a part-time program with Hyundai, led for half of the snow and ice fixture in his I-20N Rally 1, but Tanak was always hot on his heels and took the lead with a nighttime charge on Saturday's leg. After that, he never looked back. Now, latest boxing news. The president of the International Boxing Association is offering financial support to boxers who defy a US-initiated boycott of the upcoming World Championships, which he said was decided by people worse than hyenas and jackals. US Boxing and the Irish Boxing Association said this week they will not send teams to the Women's Worlds next month or the Men's Championships in May. They cited long-standing governance issues at the IBA, which is suspended from the Olympics, and the IBA's decision to allow Russia and its ally Belarus to compete with flags and anthems after the invasion of Ukraine. Those who are doing this to our athletes are worse than hyenas and jackals. They violate the integrity of sport and culture, IBA president and Russian businessman Umar Kremlev said Friday at a tournament in Morocco, according to an account of the event on the association's website. IBA will do its utmost to help athletes from the USA to come and participate in the World Boxing Championships and will assist them, including financially. That's all in today's sports world. Keep watching Millennium Sports World for latest sports updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago Video Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.